Major Simon de Montfort. Well, I had to do it, did I not? She was obviously up to something, and to be quite honest, when she's involved, there's no point trying to do anything about it without consulting her. She's like that, you know. Difficult in extremis. Well, she is the devil, so she should be, I guess. Annoyingly, the summoning... No, summoning is an incorrect description. A request to talk is a better way of saying what the magical rite is than a summoning. You cannot simply summon something like her. Well, I can't. Maybe the main chap can. You know, the bearded one in the sky. Right, well then, let us begin, I said to the evening air. I took off my jacket, carefully hanging it before starting the procedure with a resigned sigh. Not part of the magic, but I always add a sigh at the start to make it seem as though I don't enjoy this, which, you know, you can make your own mind up about that. I'd scrubbed the temporary wooden floor of the tent. I mean, the least I can do for the lady is make sure that everything's hygienic and tidy for when she arrives. We should always have standards, should we not? Now, how to continue? One must always start with a circle. Tradition or superstition? Or possibly simple geometry? I mean, really, who knows? It takes me 3 attempts to make something almost circular. Drawing a circle is, you know what? It'll bloody do. Whatever the case with circles, I draw mine anti-clockwise with this rather excellent stick of chalk procured from the stores. But of course, one segment must be clockwise, which makes the whole thing delightfully confusing. Just like British Forces policy, to be honest. Now, into the circle goes the square. Into the square goes another circle. Into that circle goes the septagram. Honestly, it looks less like a sacred sigil and more like something an enthusiastic child might draw after seeing a compass for the first time. But apparently, this is what gets the devil's attention. I think she makes us do it because she finds it funny. There must be a more straightforward way of, inviting her. Well, I suppose offering my soul would get her here, but, well, there are things that even I'm not willing to do for king and country, and I'm not sure if my soul is hers or not at the moment. I mean, the jury definitely appears to still be out on that one. Ooh, maybe I could offer her someone else's. Probably not ethical, but a lot less annoying than this malarkey. I pause for a moment to consider this. It's probably a no, if I'm honest. Maybe she makes her magic rite so complicated because she doesn't want every Tom, Dick and Harry disturbing her, work or whatever. What now? I refer to my book and notes. The book I use has an interesting title, but I'm not going to speak it out loud because doing so gets the demonic hordes to perk up and notice me, and I promise you, that is not a great thing to do. And I should know. I've done that a little too often recently, and I need to stop doing it. Oh, don't get me wrong. They're a friendly bunch of chaps, demons. I happily admit that. They'll smile and laugh when they torture your immortal soul for all eternity. It's definitely not cricket, though. Anyway, back to the book. Let's just say that this particular grimoire makes the Necronomicon seem like a children's picture book. I move my finger down the list of requirements. Sparks of magical energy earth themselves from this page as I touch let's call it vellum. Yes, vellum, but not from a calf. These pages are taken from unborn babes of a certain dark nunnery. Let's leave that one there, shall we? It's a most unsavoury matter. Burnt the place down in 73. Was it 1773 or 1673? Not sure. All sort of blurs into one after a while. Tell you one thing. Ghastly bloody place, mind. You get the idea anyway. This book is pretty rank. It smells of toast, however. Crikey. Maybe I'm having a stroke. Candles next, I say to no one in particular. There are 4 of them. The candles, that is. Red, black, white, and one that's made from a paedophilic priest's earwax. Ugh. Sadly, said earwax is not as difficult to source as you might hope. A good stick of chalk like the one I'm using is far more difficult to obtain than pedo-priesty earwax, or PDE. You can tell how common it is. It has its own acronym. Anyway, now to the other ingredients. Silver spoon. This one has stirred tea in anger, specifically mine, when the mess insisted on serving it without milk or lemon. Not a magical spoon in any way, but it does the job and it gives the idea of quality. Raven's feather. Yes, this one belonged to poor old Algernon, the angriest bird I ever knew, who expired whilst glaring at a gardener. Very appropriate, really. Gardener was a ghoul called Jeff. Finest tomatoes this side of Tooting. We never talked about his compost heaps, mind you. Best not to ask, I find. Now, 3 drops of blood. My own, a goat's, and, yes, from a civil servant in Whitehall who pricked his thumb whilst filing forms in triplicate. Most useful man. Dreadfully boring. Loved his tea, though, crikey. You might be wondering how this complicated spell came about. Was it years of trial and error by generations of dark practitioners? Well, no. It was dictated by Lucifer herself, although it's unclear how she managed to do so without this spell to get her there to dictate it in the first place. I mean, it presents an entire chicken and egg level of quandary. Right, the chant. Latin, poorly translated. Which means, of course, that it sounds like I'm sat in a restaurant in the shadow of the Colosseum, ordering some fava beans and a fine Chianti. Nos humiliter inconveniens, et cum forme debite in triplicatum, postulamus presentia Lucifer Morningstar Esquires. Splendid. That went rather well, although she hates being called Esquires. I have to take the piss a little bit for my own amusement, though, what? Offerings into the centre now. Bottle of claret. Chateau Lafite, actually. I should hope she appreciates the expense. It cost me a bomb. Contract signed in blood. Mine. Neat handwriting. Yes, the neatness actually matters. And salted caramel fudge. Now the dreadful bit. The reading of the terms and the conditions. All 97 pages of them. Clause 17, subsection 4. The summoner accepts that should the infernal entity appear wearing unsuitable footwear, they must not and shall not be mocked under any circumstances. Honestly. But, rules are rules. Best get on with it. That bit takes 3 hours alone. So truly satanic. And at last, the final clause. Clause 384A1. The summonee is not held to any clause or part of this contract because they are in fact the devil and can never be held accountable for anything they actually do. However, the summonee will enjoy the fact that the 3 hours or so of reading that you've just done have been a waste of pityingly short mortal lifespan. Although not in my case there, Lucy. I added that bit myself before smugly taking a sip from my pocket flask. The last step. The coded knocks. Spin the spoon. Count up to 10, dramatically. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. She taps me on the shoulder.
What you doing?
She asks in a fake inquiry as though she's just accidentally stumbled into the scene. Damn! I hold my chest in shock.
Perhaps.
Ah, there she is. Tailored British soldier's uniform, folder under one arm, expression of infinite disdain. Lucifer Morningstar, I say, bowing because good manners never go amiss. She offers me her hand, which I kiss the back of. I could write a good thick book on the experience of that single-hand kiss, to be honest. Thank you ever so much for joining me. I do apologise for dragging you away from whatever you were doing. A committee meeting, I presume, or something like that. She smirks. She always smirks.
You know, you don't need to go to all this nonsense for little old me,
she says.
It's not like you and I are strangers, is it, Simon?
I pause, a bit nonplussed. Must continue. Stay focused. I need a word with you about what's going on here, I continued. She nodded. About Mons, about the demon and yourself. About why you were there, meddling.
Meddling?
She repeated, a little annoyed at one's word choice. Not meddling, then. I don't know how to put it. I need to know why you're even here. It's not like you're merely observing, are you? I said apologetically. What? Wait a minute, why should I be apologising? I need to stiffen that upper lip and be a little bit more forthright. I intend to have answers. And if those answers involve bureaucracy, footnotes, or interpretive dance... Interpretive dance? Was I actually losing my mind? I shook my head to rid it of the idiocy. Well, I shall require, answers. In writing. On appropriate parchment with signatures and all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. Lucy raised one perfect eyebrow in amusement and offered me a smile as sharp as a knife. And for a brief moment I thought to myself, ah yes, old boy, you've done it again. You've summoned the devil. Still got the hoodoo, old chap. Yes, I was actually extremely pleased with this achievement. Utterly filled with pride even until I realised what I'd done. And the enormity of it. What I had achieved was actually incredibly stupid and remarkably dangerous. I'd summoned the bloody devil. This was definitely not a good thing. No. Especially when all you've got for company is fudge and an infernal soldier in her heels. Oh, yeah, and on top of all of that, I'd probably re-damned my own bloody soul. I mean, jeepers. How many times can I be re-damned and then undamned?
You are a complicated fellow, aren't you?
Lucy said. Gosh, she is pretty, though. Lucifer cocked her head. She'd obviously been listening to my thoughts. The fact that she could hear my inner dialogue made it very difficult for me to talk to her. I mean, my intrusive thoughts were open for her to see. Another sunrise of a smile bloomed on that unholy visage.
Very poetic,
she said. I could see genuine humour in those eyes that glittered like coals in the half-light, and she gave me another full-contact smile that would make most men sink to their knees. I felt my body sag in reaction. I wanted to worship her. But I fought hard for control and just looked like I was desperate for the loo, bobbing up and down ridiculously and with significant discomfort. She pouted and wiped a little dust off my epaulette with a dexterous red-nailed finger before walking to a canvas seat and settling herself daintily down. Once comfortable, she turned that ferocious focus back on me, and it was like taking a body blow from a heavyweight pugilist.
Are you not going to offer me a glass of the Chateau Lafite?
She asked, pointing at the bottle.
Only reason I demand it for this thing,
she said, waving at the chalk scribbles on the floor.
Nice circles, by the way.
She offered, genuinely enough.
You should see some of the poor efforts I have to deal with.
I hastily snatched up the bottle at her request. I was being a little too hasty. Of course, she had her glamour of control working hard on me, and I was struggling not to, obey. I gritted my teeth and thought of my dignity and good old Blighty. That was the only way I was going to get through this. Patriotism. There were no glasses in the tent, so I took a tin mug and carefully wiped it clean of dust with my pocket square before offering it to her. The mug, that is, not the hanky. Obviously. I mean, that would have been ludicrous. As soon as it left my hand and was in hers, the cup transformed into a perfectly beautiful cut crystal wine glass. Well, of course it did. I mean, why not? Evident magic and bollocks were in full flow now. The sparkly change confused me for a second and threw me off my step before I gathered myself again. The conversation was going to be a battle, a very one-sided fight. Her will was so strong, I could feel it thick in the air as though I was trying to move through cook's best custard. I paused, looking at her, thinking that she might start her story, but I was slightly disappointed when she shook her head, no, and pointed at the wine. I half filled her glass while I studied that face. I'd never been so close to her. She really was utterly perfect. Utterly perfect. Sorry. That level of perfection made me realize that she was not one of us.
Really? Should I be insulted?
She asked before batting her eyelids with an unsettling outcome. An unsettling outcome for me, that is. Again, a laugh from the now blood-red lips that had seductively sipped on the wine.
Not a demon, my dearest Simon.
She started. What? I said. I'd literally got myself lost in those eyes of hers, so I had to mentally regroup to get to a point where I understood what she was saying. She swirled the wine in her glass, paying it all her attention, allowing me a couple of moments to recover, bring things back into context. Eventually, I got back to the demon on the battlefield. Not a demon? I asked.
No, a wolf soul. Ancient, sharp, and perpetually in need of a good groom.
She smiled, taking another sip of the wine.
It's a little cold.
She told me as she sniffed the rim of the glass.
Calls himself Fenrir.
She continued, holding the glass in both hands to warm it. Who does? I was a bit lost again, actually.
The wolf soul I was telling you about.
She said. Yes, sorry, got you. Yet again I had to catch up with the conversation. I lifted my cap and scratched my head a little. I was preoccupied, with
He's been haunting the world since men first figured out spears weren't just pointy sticks. Fenrir doesn't haunt places, though. He haunts people.
She lifted the glass to the oil lamp, letting the light stream through it, and smiled before taking another sip.
Perfect.
She smiled.
Are you not partaking, Simon? It's very good.
She spoke the word
Good.
as though it held a slight distaste for her. I shook my head.
He wears people like a favourite coat. Some fit, some come apart at the seams once worn. Sadly, little Clarence may have to, you know.
She drew a finger across her neck. My jaw tightened. Private Clarence Smith, then? Just a coat to be worn and discarded? I growled. She used her full beam stare to root me to the spot before releasing me and shrugging.
What do they call it? Collateral damage?
She said, returning her eyes to the glass. I was very grateful that she did. There was now a long silence between us. She was in her own head. She was listening to her own thoughts. It wasn't uncomfortable, it was just a break. Eventually she wiped her fingertip around the rim of her glass before continuing.
Oh, Clarence was a misfit from the start. Fenrir tried him on, but khaki doesn't suit wolves. Too buttoned up, not enough howl. They've parted ways. Like a divorce where only one party gets to keep their teeth. Sadly, Clarence will have to bear the price.
She smiled.
And sadly, that's my price.
I leaned forward, my foot tapping the floor with irritation at this. He prayed to save him and his friends, I said to her, bitterly. She nodded at this. He prayed. I was upset. This should not have happened.
His prayer was answered. He asked for angelic help and he got it.
And tell me, Lucifer, was it you who encouraged this? My men are not playthings for your menagerie. Her smile was exquisite and infuriating in equal measure.
Encourage? No. Permit? Yes. Fenrir owed me a favour, and he begged to settle the debt. He wanted a host. I wanted my ledger cleared. That, Simon, is called good business. You'd hardly expect me to refuse payment, would you?
You're playing games with soldiers, I snapped. There's enough horror on this battlefield without your amusements. I scolded her. Crikey. That was a mistake, I soon realised.
You think I'm enjoying this? Think hard before you answer,
she said harshly. She leaned across the table, close enough that I caught the scent of roses threaded with smoke. Her voice dropped to velvet.
Simon, this entire war is a game. Men dabble with artillery like children with matches. Gods roll dice over your trenches. Wolves slip into uniforms and call it destiny, and you...
She tapped my chest with a fingernail. The gesture felt intimate, almost tender, though it left a sting where she struck me.
You, my immortal knight, are the greatest meddler of them all. Bound by your bargain, forever trying to patch wounds with your guilty hands. Who plays the bigger game? Me or you?
The guns outside cracked thunder, but I heard only her voice. I met her gaze and found it was like staring into the sun. I regret, I said, quietly, stiffly. I regret every life and every soul lost to my sins. That may be the difference between us. She laughed, low and wicked, the sound sliding beneath my skin.
No, Simon, the difference is I have a defined position, while you walk a very fine line between worlds and your perceived morality. My job was given but not asked for. You have yours for your pathetic, impossible salvation.
Her eyes lingered on me, hungry, daring, devastating, until the silence between us strained with something far more dangerous than shells. Then, as though bored with the tension she'd spun, Lucifer straightened and brushed imaginary dust from her hands. The glass was simply gone. I felt as though, perhaps, I'd hurt her feelings somehow.
And besides, if I had not stepped in today, this war would have been over in a couple of months, and my father does not want that, does he?
I saw the hurt briefly flash in those deep hazel eyes. He wants the war to go on? I asked her.
Well, he does work in mysterious ways, does he not? We cannot guess his intentions. We just have to accede to them.
She told me with a curt smile.
So, you wanted answers, and you've had them. Fenrir walks the world, your private limps behind, and the war roars on. Do not try to summon me every time one of your men grows a little pious. I'd hate for you to get dependent.
She almost spat. I collapsed into the chair she'd just left. I tried to keep my voice steady, but my hands were too tight upon the armrests. I depend on no one, least of all you, I said, bitterly. Her smile was like a blade, beautiful and cutting and deadly.
We'll see,
she said as she whirled away into the night. The candles sputtered out. Only the scent of roses lingered. I sat in the dark, hating her, admiring her, needing her. Damn it! I yelled. I threw myself to my feet before acting like a petulant child and sweeping my feet through the septagram and the offerings it contained. They scattered around the tent. Two hours later, I stood over Private Clarence Smith's cot in the hospital tent, my mind confused and in a quandary. He'd been sedated with opiates. It was either very late or very early, depending on your point of view, and the tent was quiet. Just the snores and the odd groan of injured men in their sleep. I'd been told that over the course of the day, Clarence had become increasingly disturbed. He'd attacked two officers as they debriefed him. One of them had been bitten quite severely, and later told me that he became like a bloody animal. An invisible voice had spoken to Clarence, telling him to bite and kill. But this time, he had not become the werewolf, just a desperate 15-year-old boy. He was seeing things that weren't there. He was breaking down. But he looked so settled now, just lying there on his back. He looked like any young boy, just sleeping. I rummaged in the cupboard next to his bed, lifting a couple of spare blankets to reach a pillow that was underneath them. Once prepared, I again looked at the boy. Lucy was right. My fine line was much more difficult to tread than hers. I had choices to make. Like this one. I leaned over the private and brushed his hair from his eyes before I clamped the pillow to his face and pressed all my body weight onto it. He woke and gave a half-hearted struggle. After a few moments, he went still and relaxed. I kept the pillow smothering him for another minute or so, and I offered a prayer to whichever of the bastards was listening. Once I was sure Clarence was gone, I carefully replaced the pillow in its store and straightened my uniform before turning to leave the tent. And then I stopped in shock. I had seen it. If I focused all I had, I could just about make it out. A gigantic black shadow of a wolf with blazing yellow eyes. "We'll meet again," I said as I tipped my cap to it. The shadow paused for a moment, then slowly disappeared through the canvas like a wolfen phantom.